All right, so welcome everybody. It's April 30th at 4 o'clock, and I am Dawn Hutchins of VegeCooking, and I am going to introduce our celebrity chef of the day. I'm so excited for you guys to meet him. He was born right in this area in Palm Valley and was raised with a really deep appreciation of the local seasonal food culture. So, you know how we talk about in class how we like to eat things in season and what season they grow in. So he really was inspired by the family gatherings that he had growing up, and they would have big seafood feasts and things like that. But in May of 2015, he met his soon-to-be wife, and he discovered he decided to eat vegan food. So that's kind of like plant-based, like we do a lot in our classes here. So he really wanted to kind of bring together like the eating of the plant foods like we like to do and the local food scene. So he started working at Sawgrass Marriott, which is a really fancy place over in Ponte Vedra. And so he has this really cool dinner, normally when the virus isn't going on, every month, called Feast for Rabbits. And it focuses on First Coast food. So it could be Indian or Spanish or Filipino or French, kind of like we did the Tour of the Globe when we did that first session this past year. So all kinds of different cool foods. And his goal has been to show that even though different cultures really like to use a lot of different animal foods, really good food comes with great intentions and a passion to share those intentions with others. So he really wants to bring the local food scene and healthy food to you guys. So I am so excited. I hope eventually you guys will check out his Feast for Rabbits, and you can find out more about him on Instagram at 2 Rabbits Jacks. So that's all one word, the number 2 Rabbits Jacks. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and then we're going to get started.
Okay, so the first thing you need to make your gnocchi, your pasta, is going to be your sweet potatoes. Now, we should have already cooked some sweet potatoes. So all of these, I'm going to mash them up with my fork here, and these are going to be the base of our pasta. So let's go ahead and start mashing.
Excuse me?
Yeah, go ahead. You got a question?
Is it fine if we use a fork? Is it supposed to be lumpy, or does it have to be smooth?
It does not have to be all the way smooth, but you want it to be at least some of the way. So we got a little bit of lumps. If everybody wants to stop and look at Kelly's is perfect.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good
Kelly's
job,
got
Robin.
Talk to me.
Awesome.
All right.
So this is the part where it gets a little messy. So parents, if you got some paper towels, you might want to get them now. But otherwise, we're going to move on to the flour. Go ahead and grab your gluten-free flour, or if you have regular all-purpose flour, that's totally fine. Works just the same. But I have some gluten-free flour right here, and I am going to take 1 cup, and we're going to add that to our flour. Now, pasta, not as exact as baking. You don't have to have like a nice smooth top, but it always helps. So kids, don't worry if it's not exactly perfect, but we're going to get in here with just the 1 cup first, and we're going to stir it around. You can use your hands if you want. I'm kind of saving mine for the next part, but it doesn't have to be all the way mixed. We just want to mix a little bit in just to get it kind of used to the flour, you know. I want them to be nice and cozy. So it'll look nice, just like that. Doesn't have to have all of it in there, just to start us off. Because if we dump a bunch of like wet sweet potato on the counter, it might make it messy, and the mom and dad might be mad at me. So we're gonna put a little bit of that flour in. Now your recipe calls for 2.5 cups. So that's the first cup. We're gonna add 1 more right into our bowl, and we're going to add a 1/2 cup. So I got a 1/2 cup right here.
Okay, so tell me again. Now you did, how many total cups have you done?
We've done 2.5 cups.
Okay.
We've mixed the first one in with just a fork, and now we're gonna get our hands in there.
Okay.
Real close and personal with our sweet potatoes. Get in there. Bring all this flour nice and mixed. You can take a bunch in your hand and just kind of squeeze it out. Really feel it. I have my nutmeg, right? I'm gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon. Sprinkle that right over top. All of that goes in.
He's funny.
You just muted.
And then we're gonna take our 1/2 teaspoon. That's the one over 2. And we're gonna take white pepper. If you don't have white pepper, you can just put regular black pepper in there. So we have white pepper in there, and then we're gonna add our salt, and that is 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. That's 2 teaspoons of kosher salt.
Okay.
I'm gonna put that aside, and we're gonna get back into mixing. If you have all that in your bowl, just go ahead and mix it up, and we'll go into the quarter thing again. We're gonna do some more math. Mixing. We're gonna mash our potatoes into a pancake again. Get them all nice and smooth so we can make them even. That way, you know, every time you're gonna get the same amount. And maybe this time I can make quarters better. We'll go right in half, and we'll go in half again. And there's a 1/4. Bam, baby. Dig in there and bring that 1/4 out. And we're gonna leave the rest to the side. Mom and Dad, if you want to take one of those quarters out and do this with your child, this is the perfect time to do so. This is just a manageable amount of dough that our little hands can hold at one time. You know, we're going to take our gnocchi and we're going to break it into 2 halves. You just roll it into a snake in your hand. So you can roll it into anything, right? And then you just break it into. And we're going to work with one of these. And we're going to roll it into more half. Oh, yeah. We're going to get it nice and thinner. Going down as we go. We're going to break that in half. Oh. And all we're doing is just making it into a nice piece that we can roll out. I learned how to make gnocchi from a chef who had learned it from Italy. He went to Italy in his internship in culinary school, and he learned how to make all sorts of pastas. And he showed me the trick to making gnocchi. Now, a lot of people, when they try to make pasta and roll it out, they just throw flour everywhere. No, we don't need to do that. He always said, if you can get away with adding no flour at all, you've made the perfect pasta. I've never tested it, but I'm going to add just a little bit of flour, just a tiny bit of sprinkle. Just sprinkle it all over there. I just took a pinch, and it's just
a little tiny bit.
Just a tiny little bit. Now, the reason for this is our sticky dough. I mean, it's not horribly sticky, but it's going to want to stick to the table. And if we have flour there, it's going to help not stick it, but it's going to be really hard to roll into a snake. We got to get snakes out of this. So if we have too much flour, our dough is just going to roll around. But we want it to have a little bit of stick. So our 2 fingers. Little fingers, you might want to use 3. The big fingers, you can use 2. And we're going to push with our middle finger and roll out. See, flour makes it stick, not stick. So the less flour you have, the better. And we want to slowly get it longer and longer. And if your pasta breaks, it's totally fine. Just put it right back into a log. And we're just trying to get into the right shape. And we're keeping pushing with our middle fingers right here, and we're pulling out with the rest of our fingers. Gluten-free flour doesn't really have any like stretch in it. So if you are using gluten-free flour, you might find that your dough is kind of breaking a little bit. That's fine. Just push it right back together. A regular all-purpose flour, you'll find it might be a little bit smoother for you. But we're gluten-free in my house, so we try to use gluten-free flour when all possible. So keep pushing until you get about the size of your finger. You want to thin it, get it nice until it's like the width of your finger.
Do we do that with all of them or just one?
Yeah, we're going to do it with all of them, but I'm just showing you real quick how we can do it. If you are ahead of the game, go ahead and grab the rest of your dough and start rolling it out. We have a cookie sheet tray here, right? And we're going to put a little bit of flour on that. You can go pretty big. You know, you want it to be all covered so that the pasta doesn't stick to your cookie sheet. If you wanted to take like maybe just parchment or aluminum foil and put it down first, that's a quick cleanup tip. I guess I love scrubbing because I forgot that. And we'll take our butter knife, or if you have that fancy thin straight, we're going to take your mom and dad's finger, and you're going to go to the first digit. See how you have that tip of your finger and right there? We're gonna do that, but don't do that to your finger. All right, so measure. That's how big it's gonna be. Oh, it's nice and cute and fluffy. We're gonna do another one and another one. See how they look like little pillows? You can just stick your little head on them, go right to sleep. We're gonna do that guy right there. And we're gonna fill our little tray with pasta.
I have 4 left.
Okay, cool.
Then,
So we're moving right along.
heck yeah. Yep, just make sure all your pasta's got flour touching it when you put it on your tray. Just kind of coat it around and toss it around. Gentle fingers. You don't want to press. You just want to kind of move the top of them. And that'll keep your shapes, your little pillows of delicious. So you want to add salt to your water before you do it. I know it's going to seem like a lot of salt, but not all the water is going to go into our dish, okay? So don't be scared for adding 2 tablespoons of salt. That's 2 tablespoons. Once we put salt in our water, we're going to put it on the stove and we're going to bring that to a boil, okay? So pasta to the side. We're going to go into sauce mode. 1 package of these mushrooms. And I'm going to wash them, okay? You got to wash your mushrooms.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
When you chop them, when you chop them, are they supposed to be in slices?
Yeah.
Yep.
They're going to show in our sauce, and they're going to be like little pretty little mushrooms. But here's my onion. So just like chopping the end off, you know, I save that end. I'll take all this paper stuff off, the stuff that's not really good to eat. But if I have the root, pull it like that. And then you can just chop that off. And this will go into my soup stock. And I'll make a nice soup out of that. And we're only going to use half of this onion. We only need half. So I'm going to put the other half in my bag so I don't use it. And save it for some sandwiches or another purpose. I'll just take the little paper right off. And we're going to do something fancy. We're going to do a julienne, or a thinly sliced. So normally we chop our onions like that. We're going to flip it so that the end is to the side. And we're going to go right down and we're going to get strips, nice thin slices It doesn't have to be too thin, but as thin as you can. Just make sure you watch your fingers. All right. Now I'm getting all my ingredients into bowls. In the restaurant, we do this so that we can cook all at once. And we don't have to be really stressed, like, oh my gosh, I'm cooking something, but I haven't chopped my garlic yet. Oh! So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure we have everything in place. We call that mise en place. So here's my garlic. I know this kind of looks really scary. It's like, oh gosh, what do I do with that? But mom and dad, maybe you can help out. The easiest way to peel garlic is to crack it just like that. Oh man, I got all the garlic. And then I just take all these little pieces, and these will be fine. As long as they don't have their papers taken off, you can take these, just put them in a bowl, set them at room temp. You don't have to put them in your fridge or anything. And out of all this, I'm only going to pick 3. And I am going to pick the 3 best ones. Like these are nice and big. I like those. And I have a fun way of doing this. Parents, you might want to do this for your child, but the easiest way to open garlic is to push it. You can actually just use your hand. Feel it till it cracks, you know, crack open. And then I can take that little piece and I can peel it up. And that crack doesn't matter, right? Because we're just going to chop it up. So I'll crack my garlics. Oh, I got real aggressive on that one. Broke it in half. You can take all that little paper stuff off, and then we'll chop off the stems, the little hard parts on the end. They're not really good to eat. They're real crunchy, and but I mean, if you wanted to try, you definitely can. And then we're gonna get funky with it. We're just gonna like walk our knife around very carefully. I'll show you how. All right, so you'll line up your garlics in a little pile, and you'll put your knife on the table, and you'll put your hands, your fingers, your important things on the top. And then you just rock like that. And you'll move your knife ever so slightly until it gets into the garlic. A lot of chefs you'll see on Chopped are doing like, they still keep their fingers up though. Just remember, you don't want to wrap your fingers down or push with your hand. You want to use your fingertips. And then you just chop your garlic until it's little tiny pieces. Very gently. I have my heat very high because I wanted this to be quick. And a lot of people at home do that too, right? They have it at the highest it can go. Before I add my pasta, right before I add it, go to halfway.
Okay.
And then come over here. Then I'm going to gently add my pasta. And once this comes back to a boil, it won't boil over. I have so many times like walked away from a pot of pasta that I had on high heat. And 4 seconds later, I hear the of the water boiling onto my burners and ruining them. So I'm just going to put enough pasta in here. If you can look in there, Jessica, just to cover the bottom. And I'm going to take a spatula and I'm going to gently go around the sides and then into the middle. This gets all the pasta up from the bottom so it won't stick to it and burn. And I'm going to let these just boil away until they start to float. Once these pastas are done, they float gently to the top and you just scoop them out of your water and then bring that water back to a boil and go right again. Yeah, it takes like 3 or 4 minutes. They start to float to the top, but I want to make sure that this comes back to a boil just so that everybody heats up at the same time. So I'm going to wait until all my pasta come up to the top before I take them all out. Just to make sure everybody's cooked all the way through. And a great way to test whether your gnocchi is done is to take one out. And you know how you taste it for doneness? You don't have to taste this one. It's kind of hot. You just cut it in half with your butter knife. And we'll see if the inside is wet. If the inside's wet, we're good. If it looks dry, it means the water hasn't gotten to that part yet and not cooked through. And I'm going to take my pasta and I'm going to very carefully, maybe with this experience, put it into my colander. Oh, shoot, we've got to test them. I assure you they're done. But if we cut through them, you can see that they're wet all the way through. It'll be like a big, it'll be like a big circle. You'll see like a circle and it'll be a clear line of like wet looking dough to dry looking dough. I will say the float test is the best test for cooking the pasta. It's very quick. Once they float, make sure everybody floats to the top, and then you can scoop them up and place them into your colander. So I do this, if you have numbers on your stove, I'm going to put it on a 6. I'm going to wait until my oil is hot, and I can tell that because I'm going to take one of my onions, and I'm going to throw it in there. And you hear it sizzle. Perfect. So I have all my onions and my garlic in my bowl. I'm going to throw that into my pot. Oh, yes. And I have a spatula. I'm just going to stir it. Break up my onions so everybody touches the pan and it gets creamy. And then I'm going to add my salt and my pepper right now. 2 tablespoons, or teaspoons rather, of salt. Sprinkle that over. Now I'm going to add 1 of these of black pepper. Perfect. I'm going to give that a good mix. If you see that it might be a little too hot and your garlic is getting a little brown, go ahead and just turn the heat down. That's all you got. All right, so I'm going to measure this out just preemptively into a measuring cup. That way I don't have to think about it. Right? Done. I have cooked my onions to where they're soft. I'm going to add my mushrooms now and my balsamic vinegar. So if you've already added your balsamic, that's totally fine. I'm going to give my mushrooms a little stir, and I'm going to put my balsamic in. And that's going to help us get all of the garlic that maybe stuck to the bottom, or maybe an onion got a little too cooked and it's kind of stuck there. We're going to take that vinegar and we're just going to like go around our pan and like really push into the bottom and get all that good stuff up. That's flavor, man. And we're going to let that balsamic kind of cook into those mushrooms for about like, I don't know, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And that's a true 2 minutes, not like I looked at a clock and looked back and I'm like, oh, it's done, it's close. You want that balsamic vinegar to cook out so it doesn't taste vinegary, it tastes sweet. If you guys have another pot, you can fill that with water. And I was going to boil a little asparagus to go with our dinner tonight. And I'm going to add another 2 tablespoons of salt. This is important. We want our asparagus to taste yummy. We're going to take our vegetable broth, and the recipe called for 4 cups. 4 cups. 1 cup to a measuring cup. And we're going to take our cornstarch, and we're going to add our teaspoons of cornstarch. We need 4 teaspoons. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Set that to the side. And I am going to whisk this.
Good.
As long as you whisk it and all that stuff is together in it. Okay? That's our first step. Now we're going to take the rest and we're going to add it to our pan. Oh, man. Okay, so, ooh. Be
So you
careful.
guys saw he just added the three remaining cups of broth to the pan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think some people were just looking away as you added it, so I just want to make sure they saw it.
Yep, and just like I did with the balsamic, I'm going to take the bottom of my spoon and I'm going to run it all around the bottom, and I'm going to like all those little bits that kind of like you feel like they're sticky, I'm going to get them up. That's going to make lots of good flavor, and that's what separates, you know, the chefs from the home chef, you know, like that little extra love and care to get all that stuff into your food. So I got all that good stuff on the bottom in there, and I'm going to set that on the side. And so I have my cornstarch, right? All this is a slurry. It's like vegetable broth and cornstarch. I'm going to wait till this comes up to a boil, and then I'm going to pour and whisk at the same time. And I got some fresh, premium quality asparagus. It's lovely. But sometimes you got bad stuff. Yeah, throw that away. Or save it for a soup if it's not moldy, obviously. But all these ends, they're kind of very fibrous. And when you chew them, they don't really taste good. So the best way to cut asparagus is actually to snap it. Just like that. And wherever it snaps, that's where the fiber is actually naturally in. So you'll get lots of asparagus that are all different sizes. And if you're cool with that, that's the perfect way to do asparagus. In a restaurant, we'd have a big bowl of asparagus, and we'd just be sitting there snapping ends. And all of those ends we'll save, and we'll make asparagus soup, or we'll put that into a sauce or into, you know, a nice stock. Or you can do it really fast and just cut the ends. Do it the proper way, though. I'm only showing you this way because there's a camera issue. Cut them normally. But the best way to do it is to snap. The quick way is to cut. All right. So I have my asparagus. Look at this. While I was waiting and not watching it, because a watch pot never boils, it was boiling. My water over here is boiling. So I'm going to put my asparagus in there. Give that a quick little stir. You can use your mushroom spoon. It's all the same thing. And we have our slurry and a whisk. Now, are you ready, parents? If you have your temperature at high, go ahead and put it down to medium. We don't want to boil over. It's the whole keep constant temperature. And then we're gonna whisk and pour. Whisk and pour. Whisk and pour. All right, my asparagus are done. So I am going to take them off the heat so they don't continue to boil, and they can just stay in there, or you can take them and strain them out. I like to keep them in there until I'm ready. They might overcook a little bit, but it keeps it nice and warm because this is a process, you know. So if you want to remove them, just remember to reheat them a little bit later because they cool very quickly. If you look here, my sauce is boiling now. So we're going to let it thicken. We're going to cook that probably like 3 or 4 minutes, and it'll reduce and thicken up. And I'm going to add my pasta. So all my pasta has been sitting here. I'm going to add it very carefully. Into my pan. We cooked our asparagus just by hot water alone. So just sitting there in the hot water by the time we're ready to do our pasta. Because it's so thin, it's nice thin asparagus. We don't want to overcook it. But if it does overcook, it's totally fine. It'll just be mushy. But you still get all the great benefits of asparagus out of that. Great texture. All right, so there's our pasta. And like I said, if you want a thicker sauce, all you have to do is just let this cook. And before you add the pasta, make sure it's cooked like to your liking, to your thickness, but this is perfectly fine for us. So I'm just gonna take a little pair of tongs, and I'm gonna grab 5 or 6 of my asparagus. You want more, you put more in. If you not like an asparagus, you have to eat one bite. One bite. You gotta try it.
Right.
All right. So then we have our asparagus right there. And you just take your gnocchis, just put it right beside it. A nice professional plate here. And if you have some vegan cheese, you can put vegan cheese on top. Or if you do eat dairy, mozzarella or parm is really good on this. I have the Go Veggie parm. I think it tastes the most like what I remember Parmesan cheese tasting like. You just get this right at Publix in the produce aisle. And if you have some fancy fresh herbs, sprinkle.
Wow, that looks so good. Beautiful. Let me see. Yay. Oh, beautiful. Very.
Oh, Katie, that's great. That's perfect.
Oh,
What about
okay. Let's see. We have another one. Oh, very nice. Love it.
Oh, Kelly, that's awesome.
Okay, how are you guys doing, Nyla? Are you getting yours together?
We're still working on it.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
But it smells delicious.
Okay, good. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. That looks amazing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey, you
Oh, you're
guys
welcome.
have given me something to do in quarantine.
Oh,
Awesome.
good. Well, we cannot thank you enough, Chef Riley. Oh my gosh, this was like above and beyond amazing. So thank you so much. I will be in touch with you after class, and we hope that you will join us again sometime.
Absolutely. This was totally fun, and I hope you guys like it.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. All right, we'll sign off. Bye, everybody. Thank you.